I'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Thank you. We will, first of all, once again extend to each and every one of you our deep appreciation at the co-creation of this transmission, giving us an opportunity to experience through all of you collectively and each of you individually that many more facets of the multidimensional crystal of all that is. So we thank you for the gift of sharing you are allowing us this day of your time. We would like to begin this workshop regarding changing core belief systems in the following way. You have on your planet a joke. Some of you may have heard it, but it goes something like this. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? And as some of you know, the answer is 1, but the light bulb has to want to change. This is very important for today's information. When dealing with core belief, the first step is you have to want to change. All the techniques, all the tools that we may share with you or have shared with you about changing beliefs will basically be lying idle on your shelf without the first and most important ingredient, the desire to change the core belief. Many of you have talked, and we have talked about the idea that you are going, euphemistically speaking, symbolically speaking in a way, from 3D to 4D, third density to fourth density. So let's take advantage of the nomenclature of 4D and present to you the basic curriculum we will be covering today, which involves 4 Ds. Desire, definition, dedication, and detachment. These are the 4 overall general elements necessary for changing core belief. Desire, definition, dedication, detachment. And we will explain each of these in depth as we go. First and foremost, understand that there is a difference between the vibrational energy of what is typically called desire and the word you often use, want. Not quite the same thing. It can be used in the same way, but we wish to make sure it is clear that in this context, when we are talking about desire, it is something far more akin to passion and a true deep soul desire than simply the idea that you as a person may want something. The desire, the level of desire we are talking about comes from the inner soul, the inner being. That which you are so passionate about bringing into your life as a state of being, knowing yourself deeply, who you are as a consciousness, the state itself that you wish to experience your life within, the desire to be nothing else but yourself in the purest way you can be, and reaching for that in all ways that you can, in thought, in word, in deed, desire, will be, in this case, the true driving force that will allow you the energy and the power to delve deep into your belief systems, find the core beliefs, allow yourself then to, in examining them and identifying them, change them. The desire, first and foremost, must be paramount in the utilization of these techniques, paramount in your focus for examining core beliefs. The desire to change. The desire to change. Overwhelmingly, overpoweringly, passionately. The desire to change. To be who you really are. To discover that and be who you really are. Without applying the first 4 D's of desire and definition and dedication and detachment, without those, without all 4 of them, you may give rise to a 5th D, difficulty, in changing your core beliefs. The first 4 D's are so important in working together as a holistic system. They must all truly be present for the manifestation, for the change to occur, to be experienced in your life, in a tangible way, in a heartfelt way. So, let us, for the moment, examine one of the pages you have in your hands. Not the first necessarily, not the second. But look at the lists of words, the 2 lists of words. Now, the first group of words are conditions that are required for you to survive in physical reality as a physical being. If you stop simply and take a look and think about it, you will realize how important those are. Obviously, in order to continue your existence in the physical experience, you must be born into it. You do need to continue breathing. I believe you all understand that. You all really, generally need to drink. You all generally need to eat, and all the other things, just to maintain your existence in physical reality. The second level, the second group of words, are words that are representative of, in a sense, functioning, so to speak, getting along in physical reality. Now, not all of them are absolutely necessary, for certainly you can get along in physical reality without your eyes, or without hearing, or a few other things, although some of them are essential in order to truly function in physical reality. If you will observe, there is actually only one word that is common to both lists, and that word is dream. You absolutely must dream due to the nature of how you have created your physical reality, and in creating the sense and experience of detachment, so to speak, or disconnection, so to speak, or limitation, so to speak, from the spirit world, in creating that experience of detachment from the spirit world, you must from time to time reconnect to it. And generally speaking, although of course we understand there are many different kinds of dreams, and many different reasons for dreaming, and many different meanings that you can give to dreams, many different representations that come from dreams. We're actually talking about the physical mechanism of dreaming that allows you as a being to expand and go into the connection of being a little bit more yourself in the spiritual level while you are still physical. This reconnection on a regular basis is critical for your actual physical survival and for your ability to function in physical reality. Many individuals on your planet, as some of you may know, have done what you call studies about dreaming and sleeping. And they have found quite correctly and realized quite correctly that you might be allowed to dream but not sleep so much. And if you don't sleep so much, you will be perhaps tired. And perhaps some of your functionality may be a little bit impaired. But as long as you are allowed to have moments of dreaming, you will still be able to continue to function more or less normally in physical reality. However, they have also found that no matter how much sleep they allow an individual to have, if they prevent the individual from dreaming, very rapidly the individual will dissolve into psychosis. And they can actually die from that. Understand the dreaming is far more critical than the sleeping itself. So, in order to actually maintain your physical existence, you must dream. In order to function in physical reality, you must dream. The reason we bring this up and the reason we point this out in these lists is that that is really what we're talking about also when we talk about desire. It's connected very strongly to dream. Understand that your dreams, your ability to dream, in that sense, is connected to your ability to desire, to manifest, to realize and experience in physical reality. And dreaming and desiring from the soul level, in many ways, are essentially the same thing. Because when you dream, you are creating, as we said, a reconnection, a manifestation of an experience of more of yourself, which is really what desire is all about, fundamentally. It drives you to experience more of your true holistic self. Now then, definition. We've talked many times about defining your beliefs, and definition remains. Defining your beliefs remains a critical component of accessing and dealing with core beliefs. And what we are also talking about when we talk about definition is clarity of definition. Clarity of definition. Really getting down deep into exactly how your beliefs are constructed, how your definitions are put together, what components make them up, what ideas and thoughts go into it or result from it. All the factors that stem from and help to reinforce the definitions you have bought into, that you have been brought up with, that you have been spoon-fed since birth. Remember that in accepting and in choosing the idea of the physical reality experience, generally speaking, although some things are somewhat malleable, you have agreed to accept and adopt a series of ideas and concepts that, in a sense, govern physical reality, such things as gravity on your planet, electromagnetic fields, neurological impulses, so on and so forth. I am not saying these things cannot be changed by your vibration, but generally most of you agree to play along and let those things run automatically so that you can focus on other issues, instead of having to constantly, consciously think about keeping your feet on the ground. You allow yourself to simply have an automatic portion of your beingness that says, I agree that as long as I'm on physical reality Earth, gravity exists, and I won't simply go floating off into space. Although that can happen sometimes for various reasons. And we may get into that later. But the idea is that when you choose physical reality and you agree, generally, to adopt a series of conditions, one of those things has to do with the patterns that are already existing that result from the experiences of the parents you chose to be born to. So that in coming through them, to be physical, to be born physically, you will to some degree adopt some of those patterns from them. A kind of hand-me-down from them. A kind of family agreement that says, I will agree to explore with you similar themes, similar ideas that you may call patterns or experiences. Not that you will necessarily have to play them out in the same way your parents did, but you often agree to explore similar themes they went through so that you, in exploring them and coming up with a different perspective, and perhaps even a different outcome, can add to the overall soul family group's experience of all the different ways that theme can be played out in your family group. And so, you often take on yourself in being born definitions and belief systems and ideas that will result in certain kinds of patterns or schedules or things that will come up or issues that will appear in your life at certain times, often, very often, at the same times that your parents experience them in terms of the same age in your life, and you will deal with them in your own way. Those moments are opportunities for you to get in touch with what that issue, what that idea, and what that belief means to you, what meaning you choose to put in it, how you want to relate to it, and what you want to bring in terms of your learning experience in dealing with it to the soul family experience overall. So it is very important in doing that you have absolute clarity of definition of what those beliefs are that you have been handed from your parents, from society in general, or sometimes even what you may have chosen to bring through with you, just simply as something you have chosen to explore. Whether you connect it to the idea of past lives, future lives, all those things exist simultaneously. So it's really more of a cross connection to some other life going on right now, concurrently. But nevertheless, no matter how you make a relationship or how you need to explain it or set it up to yourself in order for you to have the experience and explore it, getting clarity of the definitions, getting clarity of the belief systems is critical, especially when you are dealing with core beliefs. Because, as the name core belief implies, you have set these belief systems up in layers, like an onion. Often it will be easier for you to peel them away, get down to the core, to understand the underlying foundation that supports and maintains and perpetuates all the other beliefs on the upper layers. But in giving yourself layers, And in dealing with the outer layers or the top layers, however you wish to look at it, doesn't matter, first, dealing with them first and peeling your way through them, it gives you practice. It gives you experience in dealing with beliefs. And getting down to the core ones will allow you the greatest changes in your life and will give you the techniques, the tools, the capacity to deal with any other beliefs that may come up from other timings that may occur in your life from that point forward. So dealing with the core issues, the core belief that supports all the other ones, even though you may have peeled your way down to the core and gotten to the core and made changes on a core level, this does not mean you have not set yourself up to explore other things, that you may not bring other belief patterns in at another time. And those patterns will connect to the core belief as well, and in dealing and learning how to deal with the core belief, you will be better able to handle those other levels of beliefs when they come up in a different arena, in a different area of your life. But all those upper layers will connect to the same basic core. And that's why it's so important to get a handle on what that core is, so you can handle all the different layers as they arise at different times in your life. So definition, clarity of definition, the second component, we will explore that as well this day of your time. Desire, definition, and dedication. Dedication, very crucial in this idea of allowing your exploration of core belief to stick, to work, to manifest, to create in your life an experience of change. Dedication, what do we mean by that? In a sense, it's like saying commitment to the self, to really make it the most important thing, the most paramount thing in your life, to explore these core beliefs and to change them. Dedication also connects into another thing we have talked about many times, which has to do with behavior, the actions that you are willing to take on behalf of what you say you desire to do, on behalf of the changes you say you desire to make. Dedicating yourself in your behavior to acting on those things that are representative of getting in touch with those core beliefs and making the changes to become more of yourself. The behaviors that are representative of the person you say you ultimately would prefer to be. Dedicating yourself to choosing through your actions only those things vibrationally representative, only those things behaviorally representative of the person you say you wish to be, of the person and the life you say you prefer that person to have, so that in thought, word, and deed, you constantly reinforce with your dedication to choosing only those things that you really do have the desire, most important of all, to be that person you say you prefer to be. Without that dedication, there is no reinforcement and no laying out of a conduit for the desire to manifest. Dedication, very important component, choosing only those things that are truly representative of the person you believe you are becoming or wish to become. The fourth D, detachment. This may sound completely and paradoxically contrary to the idea of desire, and in some senses it is, but it is not. Not at all. It is quite complementary. By detachment, again, we simply mean the neutrality that is so important that diffuses the idea of built-in meaning, the recognition and awareness that there is no built-in meaning, and the willingness to put the meaning you prefer into every situation that comes along, every situation that happens. But even more so than that, the detachment, not in a judgmental way, not in a negative way, but the detachment from all things that are not representative of your desire and your dedication and your ability to clearly define what you are and what you are not. Detachment also from the idea of beliefs that do not serve you. For when you have the strong desire, and when you have the clear definition, and when you have the powerful dedication, you will detach from the things that don't serve you. You will recognize what they are more clearly. You will discern what they are more clearly. And you will simply realize they are not you. That certain things are not vibrationally you. And you will detach from them. Again, not in a judgmental way, but in a compassionate way, through the simple observation and awareness that a thing simply isn't you. It's not your truth. It's not who you prefer to be. It's not representative of the behavior or the actions or the circumstance of the person you say you desire to be, of the being you know you are. So detachment from the things you are not is what paradoxically will then reinforce and amplify and magnify, bringing it full circle, the desire to be who you are. This is an amplification process. You start with desire, and you go through the definition, and you go through the dedication, you use it to arrive at the kind of detachment that will clear out the things that don't belong and allow the desire, like a fire, to burn that much more brightly in you and illuminate more clearly for you the things in your definitions that don't work for you, and drive you more strongly to dedicate yourself to being who you really prefer to be, thus then arriving once again at the state of detaching in a compassionate way from those things that don't serve you, so that can make more room for your desire to burn even brighter. And you amp yourself up and amp yourself up and amp yourself up in this way through this 4-step process. And that is why, if any one of those key components is missing or left out or not as fully utilized as it could be, you will then create the difficulty because you will be breaking the circuit. This is a complete circular, self-realizing, self-magnifying, self-amplifying idea. And all of those things are equally important in the holistic approach of getting the experience in your life of this technique and these ideas really working for you. Really working for you. So, again, desire, definition, dedication, and detachment will allow you to truly disassemble the beliefs that don't work for you, disassemble the personality that you may have been taught to be, and will allow you to assemble a new you in a very experiential way, a very experiential, manifesting, physical way. We bring this tool to you now at this time because now is the proper time for this tool in you. Use it or lose it. It's up to you. It's up to you. Now, we will go into these a little bit more deeply, but let us give an overview, as we have already begun to do, of the next diagram, which would be, in your understanding, the middle diagram, what has been referred to as the enneagrammatic circuit, the 9 circles in a square. This is not so much itself a primary tool as it is an assisting tool in this overall process and experience. It will help in the way that what you might call an affirmation will help to focus you. It's a focusing mechanism. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be, and is not designed to be, completely a conscious mechanism. It will operate on a multitude of levels within your conscious and subconscious and higher conscious selves. The saying at the bottom is generally a loose translation of what the symbols mean in the circles, read as a sentence, read as an idea in context. These symbols are derived from what you know to be ancient Phoenician symbols. The reason this was chosen is because those symbols are not only a precursor to certain other very strongly vibratory languages on your planet, such as Hebrew, and they dig deep into the vibration of your being, whether you are Hebraic or not. Doesn't matter. There's another level to this altogether, tonally, vibrationally, that these symbols represent. And it also detaches, to some degree, your consciousness from the idea that it represents any particular culture, since the idea of the Phoenician culture no longer really exists on your planet intact. So it takes you to an ancient space that in some senses goes around or leaps over or goes through a lot of your expectations about what language is all about on your planet today. It goes to the undercurrent, the foundation. In a sense, it can be called a core language, and so it's appropriate for what we are doing. That language and the symbols are also connected to extraterrestrial sources as well. Not just the idea of physical ET beings, such as myself, but other dimensional levels of guides and spirits and so on and so forth. And many of these symbols were, in a sense, received and given from those sources to your people in ancient times, because they represent certain ideas, certain vibrations that key into the matrix of the meanings that you typically give to things on your planet. So they work well hand in hand with the patterns and meanings you have automatically set up within yourself, and are good for loosening those meanings up by setting up a sympathetic or empathetic vibrational tonality that unlocks you from certain patterns and expectations as you look at the symbols from the center, the dot in the center, go to the upper right-hand corner first. That is the eye. Going down, then you will understand it progresses through the idea of mouth and hand, and cutting across the bottom. The middle symbol in that sense is water, which is transition and change. And then going to what you would call the bottom of the left-hand column of circles, then going into the idea and the symbol that represents path or fence, in a sense, that you would follow. And going up to the window, and then upward to the door, and then going to the right, the center symbol above the dot, the circle with the cross in it, which represents the unknown. And so then in reading the sentence that is vibrationally representative of how these symbols work together, you will understand that it is when you start from the inner being of yourself and in physical reality express yourself through sight and through sound and through touch, in the way that is cohesive in what we are talking about today, in those manners of desire and dedication and definition and detachment, then in thought, word, and deed in that way will you cause the transition, will you cause yourself to dissolve into the water, dissolve the crystalline patterns and reform them by following the path to the windows and doors that lead to the unknown, which opens up your reality and brings you back to the center of your being in a very powerful way. So focusing on this as a kind of meditative mudra will allow you to help yourself focus on the principles that we have talked about, the 4 Ds. It will give you some focus. It will put you in the proper state of mind, shall we say. Now, the final diagram, which is a collection of 19 circles with what you might call a type of jagged spiral that connects them. We will get into this more deeply as this communication continues, but in an overview, a general overview, this is a symbol that comes directly from our civilization's history. It is something we created in our civilization as a representation and an understanding of how to spiral downward through different dimensions into the core of your being and then spiral outward from that core upward through different dimensions into manifestation. In some senses, this could be called a neurological spiral. We did not want nor instruct there to be the name put on the page because there should be nothing else in your vision when focusing on this image other than the image itself. And it represents the idea of going down through the layers of your beliefs to the core and coming up from the core through new beliefs and outward into manifestation, following that spiral. And as you can see, dimensionally speaking, the spiral itself, when you look at it in a certain way, actually takes on 3-dimensional characteristics. It sort of looks like an unfinished cube or box. Certain lines seem to come toward you. Certain lines seem to go away from you. So it fulfills the idea in a 2-dimensional plane of an actual multi-dimensional path that you actually are taking when you focus on this image, and it actually lets you pass through different dimensional and neurological levels of your belief system to the core and brings those ideas from the core back out into a 3- and 4-dimensional manifestation. It's a very, very powerful gazing tool that will, in a sense, change literally your dimensional perspective of who, what, where, and when, and why, and how you are, and how you manifest yourself. So, set these aside for the moment. We will get back to these tools in a while. But at this time, let us focus a little bit on our journey toward accessing core beliefs. Let us focus on a primary question. That question is why? Why am I here? one of the primary questions humans ask. Why am I here? Now, aside from how we have addressed this idea on a simplistic level in the past, which is to simply say, well, why not? There are very specific reasons why you chose to be where you are. And it is getting in touch with those reasons from a spirit level in choosing this life that you begin your journey to the core. Coming down from heaven, so to speak, to earth, that passage, the why of that passage, is also essential in your understanding of what it is you will be accessing in your core, because it has to do with the themes that you took upon yourself in choosing to be physical and have a physical experience. And it has to do with understanding, as we said, the patterns you have taken on from your parents and your society and how you play those out. The why. Now, when you choose themes or a kind of physical life or experience from spirit, from that perspective, from that level, before each life, again, we understand we're speaking linearly for clarity's sake. It's all happening at the same time. It's all one. We know all the lives are simultaneous, but just so you understand this process, because that's what physical reality is all about, process, that to some degree is what takes us back to the why. Why has to do with process. The asking of the questions in life, the most important questions. Why this? Why that? Why is this that way? Why is that way? The why question is the very core of the existence of physical reality, because it has to do with the fact that only in really physical reality do you experience creation in the form called process. There is time and space definitions that give you the ability to actually experience creation in process. Otherwise, from higher levels, there's no time, there's no space. A thing just is. And there is no appreciation or depth of exploration of why that thing is. So physical reality exists, in a sense, so you can develop an experience of the deep appreciation of the why component of all that is. That's what physical reality is for. And so when you choose a physical experience, what you're actually saying is you want to dive into the why of it. Not the YMCA of it, the why of it. You want to experience that aspect of all that is, the actual creative manifestation component of the one, of the all. And you need a space-time referential point of view in order to have that experience. And in that process from spirit, each time with each life, as you choose the components that will make up your experience of the why, you are very, very specific about what ingredients you put in to the experience of that life and how it relates not only to the soul family's overall experience as well as your own, but also how it relates to every other experience you are having, both in and out of physical reality. You really look at it as a network and know that every nodal point, every life, whether physical or non-physical, in that web, on that net, reinforces every other nodal point. And so the selections of what this life, this nodal point experience of the why is all about is very specifically chosen. Now, that does not always mean that you choose every specific thing that happens specifically in the life before you come into the life. Some things are left up to the idea of randomness because that's part of the why as well. but the themes are generally specific, and sometimes certain ideas that are experienced, certain situations and circumstances are set up for yourself, by yourself, including the idea of choosing your parents, and so on and so forth, choosing your brothers and sisters, maybe even choosing some of the friends you will have, because you understand that their reflections in your life is what will drive you in the direction of your particular experience of why that you wanted to have in this life. That particular experience of self-discovery, which is the ultimate why question. Who am I? Why am I here? That self-awareness, that self-knowledge on an individual and a grander scale coming together from the beginning to the ending of your life, in a sense, is what it is about. The why of it. That process, that creative arc, as you film people say, is what it's all about. The comparison, in a sense, to use the word loosely, between where you begin and where you end up in any given life, that arc of experience, that process, and the changes and differences that you experience in it are adding to your understanding on a bigger level of what you are as an aspect of all that is. I know this is heady stuff, and you don't have to feel like you've got to get it right away, and I don't mean it to sound like you are being talked down to, because we understand the great capacity you all have to absorb information and knowledge. That's not the way it is meant. But we understand we are also giving this information in a prescribed way, at a certain rate, that is designed purposely sometimes to actually kind of overshoot your conscious mind and go directly into the core of your being. So that, like what you call a time-released capsule, much of what we are giving you today does not necessarily have to be retained immediately consciously, but will come up, will bubble up to the surface, a little piece here, a little piece there, and then, when appropriate, when you're ready to handle it, and you will then deal with having the tool to deal with the situation at hand. That kit, in that sense, exists within you, and much of what is being done today in dealing with your core beliefs is instilling within you an awareness of that kit through these specific methodologies of desire, definition, dedication, and detachment that will allow you in any given situation in the arc of your life to know that you can open that toolbox when you encounter something that requires its application and apply the tools as we give them to you today, that you will have those tools with you always and feel automatically that the box will open up and the appropriate piece of information will come forward exactly when and where you need it synchronistically in your life, so that this entire process becomes a joyful and effortless and creative one instead of something you feel you have to struggle with through the 5th D of difficulty. So, the way this is being delivered, do not worry if you miss a word or a sentence or a concept here and there. By all means, if you want clarification, that is invited through questions and dialogue. And by all means, do so. But do not worry that you have missed something. If you are here in this dialogue today, this kit, I am telling you, is in you. It's in all of you, even those not here. But this kit will begin to open up. By being here today, what you have done is you have given us the permission to absolutely, at the very least, unlock the toolbox so that you can have access to it. Now, how often you open it, how well you use the tools, that will be up to you. But I guarantee you that from this day forward, that toolbox will be unlocked, and you will always have access to it. No matter how it may seem, you may not immediately have access to the core beliefs. You will always have access to the toolbox. It will always, to use what has now become a common term on your planet in computer lingo, the toolbox will always be sitting on your desktop. You can always double click it. It will always open. Always. What you do with it after that is up to your level of desire, definition, dedication, and detachment. You will amplify and sharpen those tools with your willingness to be yourself through desire. But it will always open for you. And it's up to you how to use them, when to use them, where to use them, how much to use them, how little to use them. It's up to you. On this particular segment of our discussion now, we invite any opportunity for clarification of anything that has been said or anything that has come up within you during this time that you feel it is important to share in terms of statement or question.
Been attending your seminars and sessions for many years.
Yes.
And he decided that his excitement was to spend all of his time studying this information to find out his true excitement in life and what he wants to do.
All right.
So he gave
his excitement is to find out what his excitement is.
Exactly.
I see. All right.
So he gave up his job. He moved back east to live with his father.
Yes.
He's been living there for 2 years.
Yes.
And all he does every day is listen to your tapes and meditate.
All right.
And he's now at a position where his father is going to be moving to a small home where he's now going to be basically on the street with no money or anything.
I suppose he will find that exciting.
Yes. And what I'm finding is that some judgment is dipping into my belief system.
Why?
I've been helping him to share some of this information with him.
Yes.
And because I'm realizing that my core belief system, which I was given through my parents, is that you have to work hard to get your goals.
I see.
And I do work very hard, but it's also my play.
Yes.
And so I find
when it is play, automatically people will work at it. It won't be an effort, it will just be hard work because they don't want to do anything else.
Right. So I'm following my joy and I'm doing what I like to do, what I love to do. But I find myself resisting giving this information to him because I'm finding that I feel in my belief now that he needs to stand on his own and not worship you.
That does not necessarily have to be a representation of judgment. It can simply be what you might call an astute observation of what we already pointed out. He's not actually, so to speak, acting on his excitement. He's using his excitement to find out what his excitement is. And in a sense, he is removing himself one step from the actual doing of something that he might actually find will support him. Although it's not impossible that what he's doing will support him, his belief systems may make it more difficult for that to support him until he realizes it's all about actually doing what excites you rather than doing what excites you to figure out what excites you.
Right.
But the idea of no longer feeding him the information might be an astute observation that will give him an opportunity to recognize he needs to move to the next stage and realize he can find his excitement much more easily than he thinks and not spend so much time simply looking for it.
Okay.
Does that help you?
It does. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
Thank you. It's my first time here, so I'd like to ask you some questions if I could.
Oh, all right. I'm supposing that you can ask the questions. Yes.
Yes. I'll just rattle them all off.
Rattle. All right. Rattle away.
Okay. One is I would appreciate it if you could give me more clarity on what you mean by definition.
Yes.
In other words, the definition, I would appreciate that.
All right.
The other is some examples of like core beliefs of what those might be.
All right.
And then another would be how to, in other words, when you talk about following your excitement,
Yes.
is it, that one should then follow what excites them and just keep moving in that direction? Is that what you're...
Yes.
Okay.
Because excitement, by definition, is the actual physical translation of the vibration that represents your true core being. So anything that brings with it the highest level of excitement, love, creativity, passion, is actually the thing to take action on, no matter what it appears to be, no matter in what form it comes, because excitement is the thread that leads you to more of yourself and leads you to all other things that can manifest in your life in an exciting way.
So follow that excitement.
By acting on it, yes.
By acting on it.
That's the thread to follow. Not how things look on the surface, not what the ego thinks is connected as the next thing you're supposed to be doing, but the things that come to you that contain the highest joy is the signpost, is the marker of the next thing to do. And even though it may not, from your physical mentality point of view, seem like the quickest path, it actually is.
Right, so ironically, although the parents in my personal situation did not encourage that at all, they basically said, follow your duty in a sense.
Yes.
Follow what is expected of you.
Yes.
As opposed to...
Yes.
So, okay.
Now, sometimes it may dovetail with your excitement, but on your planet very often it doesn't.
Correct. All right, so...
Now,
yeah.
The idea of definition is simply that we are talking about ingrained belief and finding out specifically what that belief is, how you have defined your relationship to any given situation. Who you think you are in relation to what's happening in your life is basically what we mean by your definition of yourself in that situation. And the example would simply be that as you experience things, you have either certain kinds of reactions or responses to them emotionally. You follow me?
Yes.
All right. And those emotional responses are completely derived from your definition of who you are in relation to that thing. So on a very simplistic level, if you are in a situation, you find yourself having what you typically as humans call a negative emotional reaction or experience to it, that's primarily because the definitions you have about yourself are allowing you to color your energy in that way. And those definitions are primarily probably out of alignment with your true being. If you experience a response that is joyful to the situation, or at the very least neutral, then most likely your definitions are in harmony with your true self. Who you define yourself to be in relation to that thing is more aligned, more harmonious. A core definition in a situation can be something along this line. Let us say a person feels that they are having negative emotional experiences with regard to the idea that they are struggling to create what they call abundance in their life, and they find it difficult to do so. The idea may be that when they get down deep into their definitions, they may discover that they have been taught conflicting beliefs. In other words, on one hand, the parents may have said, you will never really be successful unless you are rich. On the other hand, they may also have been taught to believe money is the root of all evil. So, what they grow up with is this conflict, and they make a decision about who they are in relation to that, and all of a sudden it becomes more important to them to define themselves as a good person. But because they wish to define themselves as a good person in context to the belief they have been taught to buy into, they will say, well, the only way I can be a good person and not an evil one is to never be rich. And all this may be going on unconsciously within them, and so they will actually do their very best to keep abundance away in order to, in their definition of themselves, be a good person. But that's only because they're associating it to a definition they've been given that means that having money equals the fact that you're an evil person. You have to find that core belief, find out that that's the definition you may have, and then realize, wait a minute, I don't have to define that concept in that way. Just because someone has money does not automatically mean they are evil. You have to detach and disassemble that definition so it's no longer real to you. Bring it into consciousness, disassemble it, and then ask yourself, well, what definition would I prefer in its place? I would prefer to believe that I can be rich and be a good person, that those two things are synonymous, not the other thing. You've created a new definition of what is possible, of what is real. And in truly doing it, if that is really a core belief, you will then, by identifying it and redefining it, create a completely new vibration in your being that will then attract different things in your life that you will then respond to in a different way and experience a different manifestation. Does that explain the idea?
Yes, so when fear comes up, then you look basically at what the fear is expressing as the definition?
Exactly, because you see, you are a 100% energy. And fear is a manifestation of your energy. You experience that energy as fear by knowing that you have, or by understanding that it's only experienced as fear because it's being run through or being flowed through definitions that are out of alignment with your true self. You experience the very same energy as joy when you then run that energy through belief systems and definitions that are in alignment with your true self. Your true self being an aspect of creation who is unconditionally loving and loved. And so when you have definitions that are out of phase with that, vibrationally out of phase with that, your energy in that sense, its vibrational frequency will become, for lack of a better term, distorted. And you feel that distortion as the emotion you call fear. But that's a good thing, because if you do have those distortions, fear is the alarm bell that knocks on your door and wakes you up and says, hey, I'm letting you know in no uncertain terms, because you can't ignore me, that you have a definition that's out of whack, out of alignment with your true self. And so I'm giving you an opportunity to find out what that is, and therefore the fear has served a positive purpose. And using fear that way, redefining fear in a good way, in a positive way, is the first step toward changing definitions all the way down the line. Anything that comes to you is a messenger with information about more of who you are. And if you use every experience that way, by redefining it that way, then you will experience it that way, and it will take you further and deeper into yourself to discover more and more and more of what it is that makes you tick as a personality. Because your personality is a construct built up out of the definitions you believe are most true. And definitions always give rise to emotions, which always give rise to behavior. You cannot express a behavior without having a feeling, and you cannot experience a feeling without having a definition. If I say to you, you are ashkuda, how do you feel about me saying that about you?
Fine.
Well, not really one thing or another, because you don't really have a meaning for the word, do you?
No.
So you see, if I say, just an example, you're stupid, obviously that starts bringing up feelings in people, because you have given a meaning to the word and made it real. But if stupid becomes as meaningless as ashkuda to you, you will not react. You'll remain neutral and realize it's just a definition, and you can choose to give it a positive or negative spin as it relates to yourself, or recognize it has nothing to do with you, and then simply go on your way without having an emotional negative reaction to it. But it's all stemmed from the definition first. Without the definition, there is no feeling. Without that feeling, there is no behavior. So all behavior stems from feeling, which stems from definition. So if you're behaving in a way you don't prefer and you're feeling in a way you don't prefer, follow that trail back to the definition by asking yourself the penetrating question, what would I have to believe is true about myself in order to be having this emotional experience and this behavior in this situation? And that will be the first step towards disassembling that definition and digging down deeper to the core, because there may be something else under that that will support that idea. So, Going back to the idea of the definition that equated being evil with having money and moving things away from yourself that would cause abundance, there may even be a deeper belief that allows you to perpetuate that allows you to even consider that belief as being real. And the deeper belief may have to do with things like your own sense of self-worth. Well, I may intellectually understand that it doesn't mean you're automatically evil when you're rich, but I still can't seem to break through that idea of attracting abundance to myself. Well, maybe there's a deeper core issue even underlying that has to do with believing whether or not you're even worthy to try. You understand? Mm-hmm. Is this helping clarify the idea?
Yes, it's helping to clarify the idea, and then the best way then to handle that is to then look and see what those beliefs are.
Well, yes. I mean, the best way is whatever is your way. We are giving you ideas that you can use as tools, but of course your imagination will adapt them. But generally speaking, on a fundamental level, yes, it is important because you are a physical personality construct, it is important to find out what you're actually made of in order to adjust the construct that you are, the three-sided construct of definitions, emotions, and behaviors. You have to know what you're made of. So getting in touch with the fundamental definitions is like going back to the blueprint. If the house is leaning sideways and the materials it's made out of are shoddy, go back to the original blueprint and say, well, I can see that there's something here that's off in the blueprint. And that's why the workers brought shoddy materials, and that's why the house is leaning. If I correct the blueprint and say, no, get this material and build it this way, then they will bring in stronger materials and the house will stand straight. You follow me?
Yes, and then start acting as if, in other words.
Well, of course, because it is. You act as if because it is.
And that automatically changes the vibration of
that being. Changes the vibration. And then the last step you need to be aware of is to make sure you understand that physical reality is just a mirror, but that it's not always one-to-one, that it's neutral as a set of props. So, in other words, knowing that you're changing your vibrational frequency, knowing that you are changing your reality, does not always mean you will immediately see a change in the circumstance, in the set of props around you, outside of you. The first stage in truly expressing that you know you have changed, acting as if, you say, is to respond differently to the same situation than you did before. By responding differently to the same appearing situation than you did before, that is when you give the situation leave to then be more truly reflective of the change that has happened within you, because now there is conviction in you that you've changed, regardless of what things look like on the outside. You now know that things on the outside are just neutral props, devoid of meaning, no built-in meaning, that you determine the meaning. So even though it may look the same, you're now saying, I am giving it a different definition. I now know it's not an interruption or an obstacle. I now know it's part of my path and it serves me in a positive way. I'm redefining it. And by responding differently to it, then it has the best opportunity to actually change the outside reflection. But the first step is not the outside changing. The first step is knowing and behaving as if you truly are different in relation to what's going on outside.
So
because there really is no outside.
To change for change itself rather than for outcome.
Yes, exactly. When you change for change itself, the paradox is you change the outcome. When you change for the outcome, you've never really changed.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not quite the same. You have been transformed by your journey into the depths of your being. And you have brought back with you an entirely new you that takes its cue from the change you made in the core belief with your heart, with your heart's desire. desire drove you down into the core to immerse you in your definitions and to instill and extract from you the dedication to recognize and be who you know yourself to be, and the detachment to release from the new core you crystallized, to rise back up so that you can observe and experience and live the results of the new idea you created yourself to be, which will expand your desire to explore all the more who and what you are, and how many different oceans you can discover when you rise to the surface yet again. From each and every trip you take into the core, you will rise to the surface of a different sea. A different sea. A different sea. And you will see things differently, because you are different than you used to be. Take a deep breath in and breathe in the day, and breathe in the salt air and the freshness of the new world you have created. Take a deep breath in and open your senses to the sights and sounds of the new world all around you, and the freshness of the reality that you have given birth to by birthing yourself anew. Take a deep breath in and feel the expansiveness of the new beginning that you have opened to you every moment of every day, with every choice that you make. Every change is a total change, and the world is never the same twice, from moment to moment to moment. Core belief is the passage to your inner self, the choices you made coming into this life. And when you visit the core belief, the core doorway, you stand on the threshold of all possibilities yet again, the same possibilities you had available to you in spirit when you decided to be physical. You can rearrange the agreement in that space. All of the ink vanishes, and the paper is clean. Rewrite your contract with yourself in all the ways that are important to you. Make a declaration of independence with your signature on it, and declare yourself free to be who you prefer to be. Anytime, every time, all the time. Take a deep breath and open your eyes. And welcome to a new world. A new world. Land of the free. Home of the brave. Now, let's take a look at the diagram of all the circles and the jagged spiral. Allow yourself to take that diagram, hold it in your two hands, 2 hands. 2 hands. 2 hands. Hold it at a distance from your face that is comfortable so you can take in the entire image comfortably. Don't focus too close. Don't hold it too far. Just at the right distance where you can see the whole image and get a sense of the 3-dimensionality of the jagged spiral when it begins to start looking more 3-dimensional, like a box. When you see lines that really look like they're moving towards you, going away, when it starts to take on that quality, that's the right distance. Even if it only lasts for a fraction of a second, that's the correct focal point. Just look at it. Don't concentrate. Just look at it. Just look at it. Now, start at the top of the spiral and allow yourself to slowly slide down the spiral through the circles. Just follow the line easily and comfortably all the way down to the center circle. Take your time. No right way, no wrong way. Just take your time. And when you get to the center, whenever that may be, just rest there for a moment and see that your focal point is surrounded by all the other circles. Now, once you are in the center, allow yourself again to make sure that you are holding the image at the correct focal length to be able to see the 3-dimensionality of it. And even some of the circles may start to look like they are laid out in a 3-dimensional matrix. That's all right. Again, it may be subtle, it may be bold, it doesn't matter. But as your mind attempts to make sense out of the idea that the spiral looks 3-dimensional, it will also make an attempt to see exactly what the relationship of that spiral is to the circles, and that may allow some of the circles to start looking like they are not exactly in the same plane with each other either. Let that happen if it does. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. Now follow the spiral out from the center. Follow the lines as they flow all the way back out to where you started at the top of the diagram, whatever pace is comfortable for you. And come back out to the top. Now, you can do this at your own pace later. Right now, I am simply telling you how to use this tool. So follow along for now with the pacing I am giving you. You can do this later in your own time, in your own way, at your own pace. All right. Now, you have circumnavigated this structure once, in and out, just for its own sake, just learning the path, just feeling your way and starting to get a sense of the dimensionality that is inherent in this form. That's step 1. Now, here's step 2. You will do the same thing again, but this time, before you go down the spiral to the center, what you will do is take with you an intention to discover a core belief, an intention to have a core belief revealed to you. That's all, just the intention. Nothing more, no expectation, just intention. With that intention to be shown a core belief, go down the spiral again in all of its dimensionality until you come to the center. Hang, float, sit, whatever you wish, in the center for a moment, and just be open to being shown an image, or getting a feeling, or a symbol, or an idea, or a memory, or an imagination, or a color, or a picture, or a word, or a sound. It doesn't matter. Just take it to heart that in some way, shape, or form, that represents the first step in getting in touch with a core belief. If it goes farther than that and expands into something bigger, that's fine. But it doesn't have to at this time. Once you have received that, even if it is simply an emptiness, and it simply comes to a point where you simply know it is time to go, whether you felt like you got anything or not, then when you feel it's time to go, go. Leave the center and come back up the spiral, back to the top. Now, at that point, look around at whatever beliefs you may be in touch with about yourself and see if any of them start to take on a slightly different perspective. See if any of them look a little different. Look at the situations in your life and see if any of them have taken on a slightly different point of view, or if you are looking at them a little bit differently or feeling a little bit differently about them. Or you see yourself as occupying a little bit different role, part, or position with regard to that situation you were in before you went down the spiral. Come back up and see if anything looks or feels or sounds or tastes or smells a little bit different than it did before. Once you have done that, allow yourself to examine at that point whatever you wish to examine. Let that recognition or realization take you wherever it needs to go. And once you have spent a little time with that, according to whatever is comfortable for you, and you have made a decision that you want more revelation and more alteration of your point of view and your relationship to that situation, then with that decision for an expanded point of view or an increase in informational flow, take that idea down the spiral again to the center at whatever rate is comfortable. Sit with it and see if more knowledge, more insight, more information comes, or if you suddenly start to feel more unlocked. If you start to feel a growing vibration, maybe even of excitement, maybe even of fear, but feel something growing, something more, something opening up, something changing, something around you. You don't know what it is maybe, but that's all right. You just start to sense there's a deeper picture, a bigger picture, more than you were formerly aware of. Opening up. Like a flower, like a seed opening into a flower within you. It may not be completely coherent. You may not have words to describe it. It may be quick, it may be slow. But once you feel it is time to go, come back up the spiral, all the way to the top, and again look at whatever situations draw your attention, and again see, feel, or experience if your relationship to that situation is different yet again, and how it's different. Take whatever time, spend whatever time you wish to examining that difference. Allow yourself to develop a better understanding of the new relationship you now have with that circumstance, that situation, that idea, that belief. And once you have taken this third journey, first time just going in and coming out to get a sense of the dimensionality, second time with intention, as we said, to be given something about a core belief and coming out and seeing if there's a difference. Third time, taking that difference and wanting it to expand down into the core and coming out again with a different, expansive point of view. Once you have done those three things, go into it one more time with one focus only. At the top of the spiral, take everything that has happened, just sort of sit with it, as you say in your language, just neutralize it, put it there for later examination. It's not going away. And now just ask the question, why? And go down the spiral again. And once you arrive at the center, be very quiet and see if something answers you. Whatever it is, when you feel you've gotten some kind of a response, come back up the spiral. That's enough for one day. Then, as you come back up the spiral, having done these 4 trips down to the core and back up again, these 4 journeys down the path and back up to the surface again, take all of that and allow yourself this recognition. Say, I am open to synchronicity. I am open to dream. I am open to guides. Then allow yourself to see and make a note of whatever further information and insights come to you during the day in synchronicities, and whatever information comes to you in your dreams or from what you take to be your guides. Write them down, note them, pay attention to them, write them down, mark them. When you wake up, when you receive the synchronicity, as soon as possible, as fresh in your mind as possible, write down the idea, the inspirations, the imaginations, the synchronicities, the dream revelations, or the scenarios that come to you as clearly as you can, as quickly as you can. Then look at what you have been given and see in all that information from that day and night how it might relate to an opportunity or a situation or a doorway or a window that will lead to something you can act on that will change the situation you are in. If that's what you want, or will put you more in touch with core beliefs, if that's what you prefer. See what has changed, see what insights you have been given. Then the next day, do the same thing over again. Take the 4 trips down the spiral and back up with all the same intentions we just said, more and more. And then again, pay attention to the synchronicities, the inspirations, the messages, the dreams. Write them all down, note them, and see how that information may relate to the unfolding in your life on a daily basis. Note them. Very important. Now, before you do this every day, and if again you have to write them down, that's fine. Before you begin your first journey down the spiral with this particular image, give yourself a moment, get into a relaxed state, and either tell yourself out loud or think it to yourself or feel it, but as strongly as you can, I do this with desire to define my dedication to detach. I do this with desire to define my dedication to detach. I do this with desire to define my dedication to detach. I do this with desire to define my dedication to detach. So be it. Say it 4 times. Finish with, so be it. Or amen, or hallelujah, or whatever you wish. That is for you a finalizing acceptance of your desire to define your dedication to detach. Do that little ritual first. Do the 4 trips down the spiral and back out. Notice and log your synchronicities, inspirations, and dreams. You will find within 30 to 90 of your days, your life will begin to contain things you will be astonished to find in your life. Opportunities, synchronicities, doorways, people. You will be amazed. Until you get to the point where amazement is the order of the day. This will unlock you. Do it if you wish to unlock. Do it if you desire to define your dedication to detach and discover your core beliefs and recrystallize your reality into what you prefer it to be, into that which is aligned with your core being. Rewrite the contract with fresh ink and a new signature. Declare your independence and your freedom. Rise to the occasion of yourself, of your existence. Rise to the occasion of your being. Rise to the occasion of the potential of your life. Rise to the recognition and acknowledgement and acceptance of who you were created to be. To be. To be. Take a deep breath and expand. Take a moment. Just sit with yourself for a moment. Feel what just this moment may have done to you in terms of changed little things within you, little feelings, little vibrations, little ideas, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Feel the potential of your being. Feel the desire build within you to discover who you are. Feel the moment of revelation when you crack the code of a definition. Feel the certainty of the commitment and dedication you call forth in declaring your freedom to be who you are. And attract what is reflective of that. Feel the compassionate detachment to all things not you. And then feel your desire amplify to do only those things that are. And continue the cycle and spiral upward and upward and upward, magnifying your magnificence and the magnificence of all that is that you reflect. Take a deep breath and let it out.